Hello my friends and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. It seems like the Russians are ready to counter some events at Zaporozhye nuclear power plant. Now they're going to make some moves over there, and I don't know if those moves are made in a proactive way or a reactive way. And that is maybe they anticipate someone is going to hit the Zaporozhye nuclear power plant and a disaster could occur. I made a video regarding in case who might be responsible, because you know, if something happens over there, both Russia and Ukraine would point fingers at one another. And as in any investigation, who did what, you start or one of the starting points is who benefits, che bono. Who would benefit out of this disaster. And as I explained in a video last night, that's a public relation benefit, and there is a military benefit. And I took Ukraine and Russia, and if they could coincide in the military aspect, the interest, the public relation interest does not coincide. They don't have the same benefits if this occurs, which is Russia will definitely lose, Ukraine will definitely, if the disaster occurs, Russia will be the one that is going to be most likely, responsible, held accountable by the rest of the world, not Ukraine. So even if the Russians would do it, they will say no, it was the Russians, and the Russians, if they say no, it was the Ukrainians, nobody would believe them because the mass media works that way. So this article that I have here, it comes from Ukra News, and it's an Ukrainian news outlet, and the title is Russia brings 10 chemical laboratories to Melitopol. And when I read this title, I was like, oh, what's going on? Are the Russians going to be so blatant in bringing chemical weapons and maybe using them on Ukraine? That's hard to believe. So then I started reading the article, and it says the Russian occupation troops brought to Melitopol, Zaporozhye region, about 10 chemical laboratories, which can be used to save the military command in case of radiation threat. That is what the mayor of Melitopol, Ivan Fedorov, announced. And I'm quoting, "The invaders brought about 10 chemical laboratories to Melitopol. In case of radiation danger, they will save its leadership at the Zaporozhye nuclear power plant," Fedorov emphasized. Well, he already knows who's going to be saved. According to him, chemical laboratories are located on the territory of one of the medical institutions of the city of Melitopol. The mayor emphasized that at the same time, the occupation authorities do not think about the locals at all. Well, first, who's going to do something? If Ukraine will, damage the plant, then what you said here has no meaning, because I could say, well, you didn't think about civilians and anybody else at all. You're civilians, because it seems from the studies that this guys made regarding the radiations, what direction would the cloud go, it seems like it goes westwards, which is going to be not the entirely, but it's going to hurt mostly Ukraine, and it's going to move towards Europe. And a little bit is going to be in the area which, doesn't go everything to it's going to hurt Russia as well. But, just the area a little bit to the east. So if someone does something like this, the Ukrainians will be most affected. As Ukrainian news agency earlier reported, that Energoatom announced the complete disconnection of the Zaporozhye nuclear power plant from the power grid due to actions of Russian troops. I didn't find that evidence that it was the Russians, because they both, Ukrainians and the Russians, are shelling the area. But I found another article yesterday that I was discussing, and the author of the article was pointing out that it was the Russian shelling, but then they quoted the Zaporozhye nuclear power plant, whomever is in control over there, on the Ukrainian side, and they said might be damaged due to shelling. That person does not name Ukrainians, Russians, just shelling, because just to be certain, if you are in the building, you would not be able to know who the hell shelled your area. You hear the explosions, look over the window, how do you know it was these guys, those guys, or those guys? Where is this shelling coming from? So, but nevertheless, this guy already knows that it's the Russian troops who are responsible. So it says, at the Zaporozhye Regional Military Civilian Administration worked out various scenarios for the evacuation of the population in the event of an accident at the Zaporozhye nuclear power plant. Of course you do that, and it's going to be crazy, but I hope we don't get that point. Now those chemical laboratories that are going to show up, I do not know what exactly they have inside of them. It's just that according to this person who's on Ukrainian side, is there to save only the leadership of the Russian military, I'm guessing, stationed at Zaporozhye nuclear power plant. I don't know if that's accurate. I don't know what is in there. I don't know what it can do. From the pictures I saw, there's just some look like some big cylinder carriages or something, like a train. If you ever looked at a train that carries stuff, not human beings, the materials like the oil, for instance, in it, they are just like a cylinder. That's how this looks. So I don't know what's in it and how they would protect. You just get in it and lock the door or whatever the trap you got over there, and then you're gonna be safe for how long. But anyway, I hope this disaster doesn't occur, but if it occurs, it could be both. But as I said, from a military standpoint, what would be the benefit of Russia, unless they're just criminals? Now from the other ones, the same. Unless you're criminal, you wouldn't hit the plant. Or if you want to really push the buttons and try to push that, and you're that kind of criminal, mass murderer, then you could do it and then blame the other side and try to get the public opinion to blame the alleged perpetrators for the disaster, and that would be irredeemable. I mean, remember the Katyn forest in Poland, which was perpetrated by the Soviet commissars, NKVD, secret police over there, military, certain kind of people, and then they blamed the Germans from what? From 1942, I think, until 1991, until they unsealed the documents in Moscow after the fall of the Soviet Union. So, and it was actually the Soviets, and they were blaming the Germans, even though the Germans got international observers and Red Cross and all that, took pictures, and they called the guys to see the mass murder done by the Soviets. So from what? From 42 to 91, it was the Germans who did it, the Wehrmacht and the Nazis and so on. When actually it was the Soviet commissars. So the same thing could happen here if, let's say there are some criminals who destroy that or damage it, blame on Russia. Russia will be forever remembered, even if they bring, I don't know, pictures with the person, detonating the whole thing, like in the old movies. It's still going to be the Russian, because that's the way the world works. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.